going on, Jerome's? I know the Chiron says tell the truth Monday. I don't care. I do not care right now. Way too lazy to change things, but here we are. Hopefully the Vikings aren't too lazy to change things this offseason, right? Because, yeah, I mean, this season 14-3, would it be the first 14-win wild card in NFL history? But just the way that this season landed the last two games, it's frustrating. It really is. And also, here's what's going to happen. Haters and the losers who've been saying all season long, oh, the Vikings are frauds. Oh, here we go. Oh, a win is not a win, blah, blah, blah. They have ammunition now, right? So they can have their moment in the sun. But the Vikings played some damn good ball against some damn good teams, and they did not overachieve. Like, this was a good-ass football team that completely pissed down their legs in the final two games of the year, right? And it's insanely frustrating what went down, but I know that the whole, and we'll get into it, like, there is silver linings, like, well, this was a 6.5 win team, they got 14, da-da-da-da-da-da. You had a golden opportunity and didn't take advantage. And that is what it is, and this team was good enough, they were smart enough, and doggone it, people liked them. Woo. But, you know, it happens. Anyways, here's 10 truths about the wildcard round participants, Minnesota Vikings. Number one, Darnold tanked all of his value. Darnold's agent is Jimmy Sexton, who's one of the best agents, well, mainly known for college football, especially with coaches, you know, longtime Nick Saban agent, but Darnold ruined all of his value because his peak was after the Packers game, you know, getting showered in the locker room. I don't know, maybe we shouldn't have celebrated like that. Don't know. But at that point in time, it was legitimate that the Vikings could potentially tag and trade him, probably get like a first or a second round pick, and then the team that he was traded to would sign him to a, 4-5 year deal, upwards of $45-50 million a season. That was true. And I know that it's going to be revisionist history and, you know, whitewashed over it. Be like, oh, Darnold is who we thought he is. No, legitimately, Sam Darnold was balling out for the better part of 2 months. But all of that went away with how he played against the Lions and the Rams. Two biggest games of the season, and Darnold couldn't hit the broadside of a barn. It's really tough to explain. I don't know what it is. The accuracy, the confidence, the mechanics, everything was terrible. And he looked so damn good the bulk of the rest of the year. Don't know what happened. And it wasn't, hey, it's a big game, so Darnold is who he is. Like, the Vikings have big games all year. But I don't know. But now he went from $55 million a year, maybe like $110 million guaranteed in a contract, to maybe he gets 20 somewhere in free agency. Also, there's no tag and trade value anymore. That's gone. That's likely out the window. So now the Vikings are just going to let him walk in free agency, and hopefully they get a third round comp pick back in 2026. Right. So now I think it is J.J. McCarthy. I think it is Daniel Jones. I think that's going to be the focus at this point in time. But I don't know if there's a player that's lost more value in 8 quarters of football than Sam Darnold did. It's amazing. Number two, obviously this is J.J. McCarthy's team. More fatty, all that stuff. So, yeah, I mean, again, people are going to whitewash history, but Darnold, 15 days ago after the Packers game, I mean, there was a legitimate discussion about bringing Darnold back on the tag or even a long-term deal. Could McCarthy sit? No more. No mas. That's what, because even if Darnold looked average in the 2 games and the Vikings still lost, it would still be a discussion. That's how bad he was. And now it's J.J. McCarthy's team. And now you roll with a quarterback on his rookie deal, one of the best competitive advantages in the league. You spend all that money in the trenches, which we'll get to, and it's McCarthy's team. And he's got the moxie, he's got the movement, he's got the arm, he's got the accuracy. He can work in tandem with Kevin O'Connell, got all the weapons in the world, and the future is bright. And we'll go from there. It's J.J. McCarthy's team now. And I think he knows it too. Number 3, this was bad for Kevin O'Connell. right? So now he's very early in his coaching tenure, right? He's only 39. He's been on the job for 3 years, but his 2 playoff losses are at home to Daniel Jones and now on the road at a neutral site after a 14-win season, and you just have a turd in the punch bowl. It's bad. And it's one thing to lose. It's another thing to get completely eviscerated, outplayed, outcoached, outfoxed, out everything, right? And also, like, there was no urgency. Like, where's the quick game? Does Kevin O'Connell not trust Sam Darnold to throw short? Is that why he led the league in ADOT? Because they don't trust him to throw under 5 yards? He's like the inverse Brock Purdy? Don't know. But this was bad. 14-win season is great, but playoffs, like we said, are the second season, and now Kevin O'Connell's 0-2. And this game, this is not a one-score game. Oh, woulda, coulda, shoulda. One play here, one play there. This was just, even though the refs were obviously terrible and one-sided, but also, did you notice that they made a bunch of calls against the Rams in the second half to make the box score look good? All right, first off, Stafford was not throwing the ball forward, but argument for another day. Oh, and the face mask, they can call a flag after there's been no flag thrown in a Vikings-Rams game. Yeah, but doesn't matter. You got to play better than the refs, and the Vikings obviously did not. Right, so this is not one of those woulda, coulda, shoulda. One play here. Oh, just one last play. This is an ass whooping. You did not show up. 2 games in a row, 2 biggest games of the year. All right, so this is a bad look for Kevin O'Connell, but he's still the guy for the Vikes. He is, and I do believe that Kevin O'Connell and J.J. McCarthy long-term will meld 10, 15 years of sustained success. And O'Connell, should he give up play calling? It's an argument for another day. Some of that'll get sorted out, but I do think that he and McCarthy, that relationship is going to bring the Vikings championships. I truly believe that. Kind of have to, right? But, I mean, he's still the guy for the Vikings, but at least the extension got cheaper. I mean, if you're the Wilfs, you got to be pretty excited because you don't have to pay Darnold $45-50 million a year. And also, O'Connell, I mean, if O'Connell made some noise in the playoffs, like his extension probably would have been about $12 million a year towards the top of the coaching salaries. Now it's, I don't know, 8-9. Somewhere in that. Here's always what blows me away too. So like the absolute top coaches get paid. I know Belichick was getting paid like $15 million towards the end of his Patriots run. That's nothing compared to the players. All right. I mean, some of the top coaches in the NFL get paid $10 million a year. That's what the Vikings paid Marcus Davenport 2 years ago. So Marcus Davenport got paid as much as John Harbaugh and Tomlin and Sean McVay. It's kind of insane, man. Right. But yeah, extend O'Connell. Yes, extend Kwesi. Oh, but he sucks at drafting. This roster is pretty good that he assembled. Number 5, all in on interior offensive line. So I'm done pussyfooting around with this. And every single year since Steve Hutchinson left, it's been about interior O-line, interior O-line, interior O-line. Also, I'm sick of drafting because, yes, you do get younger players, and yes, they're going to be cheaper, but you hope that they're going to be good. Since the Vikings have the cap flexibility now because J.J. McCarthy is on his rookie deal, and you have $72 million in cap space, and you don't have to pay Darnold, all in on offensive line. We said this from the jump. Left to right. Left guard, Tevin Jenkins from the Bears. Center, Ryan Kelly from the Colts. Right guard, Trey Smith from the Chiefs. All in, make sure that you get Trey Smith. All right, so left to right will be Darrisaw, Tevin Jenkins, Ryan Kelly, Smith, and O'Neal. That's a badass offensive line. That's exactly what they need to do. They need to build an indestructible FU offensive line in front of J.J. McCarthy. 100% what they need to do. Also, they should consider firing offensive line coach Chris Cooper because there was no improvement along the offensive line. Now, you can't put all 9 of the frickin' Ram sacks on the O-line. A lot of it was on play calling. A lot of it was on Darnold, but the O-line definitely is not blameless in this regard. And I'm done with Garrett Bradbury. Should have been done with him a number of years ago. That's the extension that Kwesi wants back. Reisner, I don't think should be back for year 3. It was a fun story. It's done. Blake Brandel, no. Basically, Ed Ingram obviously isn't the answer either. Essentially, it should be Darrisaw and O'Neal and then everyone else is up in the air. That's how it should be, right? Next up, number 6, and interior defensive line. So the Vikings can stop the run. That's what Bullard, that's what Tilley, that's what Harrison Phillips are good at. There is not a single soul on this team outside of maybe Jalen Redmond and maybe LDR down the line that can get their own pass rush. And that forces the Vikings to blitz the living bejesus out of teams, and it's great when it works. But when you have a competent offensive line and a competent offensive play caller, which, hey, I wonder if Sean McVay prepared for the Flores blitzing all the time. Wow. Right? And just watching the rest of the playoffs so far, it is such an advantage where you can rush 4, sometimes even 3 on high leverage downs, drop 7 or 8 into coverage, and so you gunk up all of the passing lanes, and you're still able to get heat on the quarterback. We need that. All right, so all in on interior defensive line. That I think you can go the draft route, although there's going to be some really interesting free agents out there. Adigi Zua is going to be there. Javon Hargrave is likely going to be cut, so we'll see. But the Vikings can't just rely on blitz. Now, here's what's interesting. So I put interior O-line 1A, interior D-line 1B in terms of Vikings needs. And now people are going to say running back and cornerback. I'm a front to the back. When it comes to what affects what in football, and especially offensive line, because you can have the best running back in the world, but if you have a poop ass O line, it's not going to be good. If you improve the interior offensive line, it makes the run game better, no matter who you have back there, as well as protecting the quarterback. That's going to be huge. If you have a interior defensive line that can blow up a gap, that can get heat on a quarterback and not put stress on coverage, that automatically makes your cornerbacks better. It's much easier to cover when you only have to cover for 2 seconds as opposed to 4. All right, there's a huge difference there. Next up, truth number 7. So it's not bad for a rebuilding year, sure. I mean, over under 6.5 wins. We all know the story. $62 million dead cap, and you only lost to 2 teams. But guess what? The team choked. Right, and you only lost to 2 teams all season. The Lions and the Rams games, the first 2 were close, the second 2 were not. But guess what? The Lions were the 1 seed. And if you want to be the boss, you got to beat the boss, right? And you got to be able to beat the elite teams in both conferences. And Sean McVay is one of the best coaches in the game. You have to beat the best teams. You have to beat the best coaches, and the Vikings did not. All right, that's what it comes down to. So, yes, if you take a step back, it's not bad for a rebuilding year, especially when the Vikings were in a major transition and they're just effing around with slinging Sammy Darnold. At the end of the day, yes, but also the team choked. Because guess what? If they would have showed up and beat the Lions, which they were fully capable of, and Darnold wasn't missing on 4 or 5 easy touchdowns in that game, I mean, they're still in the playoffs as the 1 seed. They're resting, getting healthy, right? And then everything runs through U.S. Bank Stadium. But they didn't. And then when they have this opportunity to be road warriors, they have the Rams, who are eminently beatable, and they completely piss down their leg. Right? So it can be both things at once. Good for a rebuilding year, play under the house money, all that stuff, but also it could have been a lot more. This team could have done a lot more if they played to their potential, but they didn't. They coached bad, they played bad, everything was just bad. These last 2 games when they really needed their best. Both things can be true at once. Number 9, this team needs to get mean. So, now I'm not saying dirty, but they need a chip, right? And it's something that Kevin O'Connell talked about in training camp, is that they had physical padded practices because they want to stress physicality this season. But I don't think that carried over. Defensive line, yes, against the run, sure, but they need a chip. Like, I'm not saying they need a Richie Incognito type guard, but I'm not saying that. I guess that's where Tevin Jenkins comes in. But they need to have an edge because, I mean, the Vikings are very good, but I don't think the teams necessarily feared them, especially in the trenches where the games are won and lost. Detroit has that. Philly has that. The Bills, not so much. The Ravens have that. The Vikings don't have that. They need to get that. Now, I'm not saying be dirty, be tough, be mean, be physical, and get after things. Lastly, number 10, we're on to 2025. So yeah, you can take some moments, you can cry in the breast milk, or you can be like, well, they just had a good season, they overachieved, blah, blah, blah. Either way, we're on next year, right? And $72 million in cap space. Interior O-line, interior D-line. Not paying Darnold. It's going to be J.J. McCarthy's show. And also, we said this a bunch. People say, like, the Vikings have the second oldest roster. It's because there's older outliers on the team. Just think of this core. J.J. McCarthy. You have Jefferson, Addison, Hockenson, Darisaw, O'Neal, Harrison Phillips, AVG, John Grenard, Cashman, Pace, Metellus. They're all 30 or younger, and they're all under contract. That's a pretty damn good nucleus, right? That's going to get better and better. And also, I think Flores is going to be back next year too. All right, so obviously the future is bright, and this team has a lot of great football ahead of them. Plus, don't disregard the lessons from this year, because a lot of players are just pissed off about the way this season ended, and they're going to take that and let it burn inside and have that be motivation for the rest of their careers. So in some ways, this could be good. All right? There's no woulda, coulda, shoulda. There's no regret from this game. You got embarrassed on national television 2 games in a row to end your year. That's going to leave a bad taste. All right, so get up and get after things, because we ain't dead. We ain't dead yet, man. We go from there. But that's it. Tell the truth Monday on to Tuesday. You guys are the best. What are your truths? Let us know. Skull production value.